I'm Beth Ann.
What's up? I'm Ayla.
This is Let's Talk BL, a boys love podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. It is Sunday, Series Sunday, the day of the week where we talk all things one series and one series only. And also, today, not only are we talking about the most iconic series so far of 2023, I would say. Also
True.
most highly anticipated, also most, dividing. Every house is divided on this one. It's outstanding. But also, we're joined by a very special guest. It's not Top. It's not Mew. Hey, it's Robbie.
Hey! Our old friend.
Our only friend.
True. My only friends.
True.
At least I can say plural.
Thanks for joining us again.
Yes, I'm excited.
You're in town because we dressed up, because we just had an OnlyFriends viewing party.
Yes.
Shout out to everyone who came. It was so fun.
So much fun.
And shout out to Nam Khao, the amazing restaurant that hosted us.
Yes.
For everyone that came, for everyone that couldn't come, they were so happy to host you all. They extended their thanks and gratitude to us after the event for how wonderful BL fans were
Yes.
and how great our group was.
It was so fun.
We're making a good impression on the people. Y'all, let's keep it up.
It was fun. Okay, I can't wait to talk about the show.
I'm
We
so
have
excited.
so
Oh,
much
God.
to talk about. Lord
my
have
God.
mercy.
There's so much.
Yes.
Okay,
Are we
but
ready?
first let's start with the nuts and bolts. It's 12 episodes. It's GMM-TV, of course, so it's on YouTube. It's directed by JoJo and Ninu. This was their first BL that they directed together. If you have not watched The Warp Effect, go do it, because JoJo and Ninu as a directing team is pretty exceptional, because you have somebody who focuses on the storytelling and someone who focuses on the more of the mechanics. Ninu
And
has
each individual scene. So Ninu's an
Yeah.
acting coach
Mhm.
primarily, or that's kind of how he got started.
yeah.
He got started in the theater world and then became an acting coach.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, he really works, and you'll see him in the behind the scenes a lot,
Yeah.
working with the actors directly for
Oh.
each individual scene.
So
So
good.
all of
Yeah.
those scenes that move us, and then you have JoJo with the story and the connections and the way everything. Oh God, just genius.
Of the dream team.
Yes, truly.
Dream team.
I'm
Really?
holding my breath to see what they tell us, what they're going to do for 2024.
Yes.
Hopefully only Friends season
Only
2.
Friends season 2.
Oh,
And
please.
I will tell you why I have a theory that this is totally going to happen and would work, and I'll save it.
Yes,
But
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, we have Sand, played by First. Ray, played by Cowtongue. Top, played by Force. Mew, played by Book. Boston, played by Neo.
Beth Ann, she's dressed like him.
Nick, Nick, played by Mark. Chim, played by Luke June. And April, played by Nani.
Amazing. Okay, synopsis time. Mew, Ray, Boston, and Namjoon, a group of business students running a hostel together, blur the lines between friendship and romance. Mew has been focusing on his studies, setting aside no time for sex and relationships. To help them with their business's design, Boston introduces the group to Top. Boston didn't anticipate Top's interest in Mew, and he isn't happy with the turn of events. Economics student Sand wants an exclusive relationship with Ray, but Ray has feelings for Mew, and he is not interested in settling. IT guy Nick finds a sex tape in Boston's phone and ends up in a friends with benefits relationship with him. However, Nick wants something more.
That's an interesting synopsis. Now that
Yeah.
I listen to it again and read it again, I don't think Sand wants an exclusive relationship with Ray. I think Sand is fighting hard not to be in a relationship with Ray, and he cannot not be in a relationship
I agree.
with Ray.
I think
Yeah.
that Ray, look at this precious little mischievous face.
Ray gaslit himself into
I fully
Sand.
Yeah.
understand. If this little mischievous face was no, but don't you want to
Yeah.
use my cigarette in your mouth?
Nah,
Yeah.
nah.
No, but
But yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I get it, and he's just so cute, and he's got this little mischievous streak to him. Oh my God, I understand.
Okay,
Mm.
then let's start with Ray and Sand,
Let's start with Ray and Sam.
the
Let's
best
do it.
couple.
I think everyone can agree the best couple.
Yeah.
They're the most
Yeah.
interesting to watch. They're truly the most complicated, because there are so many times where you're rooting for them for different reasons. You want Sand to get what he wants, but you're not really sure what he wants, and he's not really sure what he wants,
Yeah.
and Ray doesn't even know what he wants either. And I think that's what makes their couple interesting too, is that they clearly want each other, but there's so many layers to what they actually really want, and they can't see through those layers to the base of I like you, let's date. There's just so much else on top of it they have to get through to get to the healthy,
Nitty-gritties,
cute,
yeah.
frolicking in the parking garage moment.
Oh my god, that scene. So the scene in F12, obviously, where they each have a headphone in and they're just like dancing to this song in the parking garage. Honestly, that is, I would say, like, top 3 most romantic BL scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, it is so romantic, and the song that they put behind it. And
No
like,
one has made a parking garage more romantic.
If I go sit in a parking garage, like, do you think somebody will come do that with me? Like,
We actually did that.
We did.
we did a long time ago. We did.
There is a TikTok on both of our channels.
Less
if you go
romantic.
all the way down.
Romantic.
I thought it was very romantic.
Do you think there was a security guard watching them do their
Yeah.
I was about to say maybe I had romance with a security guard. Maybe
Yeah.
that was my love story and I missed it.
We all missed
Maybe,
it.
I don't know.
Good times, good
But
times.
truly, like, honestly, that scene and the way it's shot, it's just so,
Yeah, so
good,
good.
so romantic.
Really
it kills me.
cute.
I will say, like, out of all the couples, like, I have, like, a tier of who I wanted to end up together. San, Ray were, like, my number one. If they did not end up together, I would have rioted. I would have messaged
I think that was
JoJo.
unanimous, yeah.
I think everybody wanted them because, well, San is perfect. We will talk about that more.
Yes.
San is perfect.
Yes.
Ray is flawed. But he's not bad. So we want...
He's not a bad person. He's not a bad person.
He has bad actions.
He's always
he makes bad
trying.
choices.
So
Yeah.
what I think the coolest thing about Ray and Sand is, just in my opinion, is like together they make each other better.
Yeah.
And together they're so supportive of each other in exactly the way that the other one needs it. So
Yeah.
not in the exact same way, but in the way that the other one is like needing in that moment. And together they're really dynamic to watch. Like the Pinky, right? Like at the record store.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which we found out later from JoJo and Ninu that they improvised that scene, that was from them. Like that
Yeah.
was from First Thing Cowtongue. And I was like, are you serious right now? Like I was like, dude, I am like already teetering on the edge of Delululand. Like,
Yeah.
please.
First
Like,
cowgirl.
I was like, are you for real right now? But like, they're just so dynamic and good to watch together as characters.
Yeah.
But also as individuals, they're so interesting. And I think that's what's so cool about them as a couple, that like I care enough about both of them that if they hadn't ended up with each other and if they had ended up with other people, like if in some alternate dimension Mew and Ray ended up together and and like
Sam got back with
Sam
Boeing
went
or
back with
something,
Boeing or something. That's why I said alternate dimension. I'm not saying
Yeah.
preferred. I
Yeah,
said
no.
alternate.
Yeah.
Just the thought grosses me out,
I know. I like both of them enough that like I would still watch that and I would still be into that and I would still be curious about their story and their life. And so like it's better that they're together. It's like this perfect like harmony that they bring to each other. But like individually they're both so interesting and they have such like real stories. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, I really liked watching Ray try to figure out the whole the whole Mew thing, because that's the thing, when you have a couple like Ray and Sand, from the beginning you're rooting for them. You're like, this is cute, I want this to happen. But then something kind of gets in the way and you have Mew come in and you're like, yeah, we kind of need Ray to figure this out for himself. Like, it sucks that he's in this position to kind of disappoint Sand, because I think at that point, like, Sand wasn't fully like in love with Ray, but to be like sad, I think he was disappointed because of the hope of what he could have with Ray. And so I think he was getting there. I don't think he was quite there yet, right? Because at the river, he's like, I really like you. But I don't think he was going to allow himself to like truly fall in love with Ray unless they were in like a relationship and like actually he was allowed to be vulnerable enough to be in that space. So I think he was disappointed when Mew came along, but then he realized like, oh, I still have a running chance, because like it turns out that
he was the side piece.
Yeah, Mew was the side piece. And so they as individuals are so interesting to watch figure out, but then when they get together, you're like, yes, this is like that camping scene, that whole camping scene was just like so good, because you have the like pre-thing with the friends, like truly the best friends in this entire show, which is Sand and Nick, and you have them be like, maybe this is the better like they are the healthier version of Mew and Ray.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing. I was like, no. I was watching it and I was like, no. And then when they both just start laughing, I was like, this is genius. This is perfect. This is so good.
Exactly what we
Now that I think back to this, oh my God, I'm having like a revelation. Like,
I love revelation.
I'm literally having an epiphany.
An aha moment.
I am. Honestly, okay. The camping scene is genius.
Yeah.
And we all should have seen the like writing on the wall fully with this whole like the camping storyline, because when they run off, when Sand and Nick run off, because each have had their like situationships kind of like crumbling. They're in the process of crumbling. Who chases them down and finds them, right? Like, who's the boy that shows up?
Yeah.
It's Ray.
Yeah.
And Boston doesn't even try.
Well, Boston's
And so, like,
trash.
it definitely should have been, like, I will admit, I was disappointed in Boston. Like, I really was rooting for him. Like, I had, like, the Tyra Banks moment of, like, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Like, and so
a tiger can't change his stripes.
I know I say this all the time. A tiger cannot change his stripes. But
he's a really cute tiger, and you can't help yourself.
I could help it.
Listen, a red flag sometimes can be the hottest kind of flag. But like, listen. But I will say the fact that Ray like chased Sand down, even despite everything that was going on, everything with Mew, like,
and he's the one that chases him throughout the show.
Ray is chasing Sand continuously, and like he's working through his own stuff. And I do think that in the Mew Ray dynamic, I like interestingly think Mew is more at fault for that than Ray is, because I think Ray was so in love with him and just wanted to believe so badly that Mew had like finally come around, that he was like, okay, yes, like if I don't take this chance, what have I been doing for 2 years, right? Like, you know, it's almost like in his head, it's almost like I'm throwing away 2 years worth of work if I don't at least try. Versus like for Mew, it was a reactionary thing. It was like, this is gonna hurt Top, and he was only doing it to hurt Top. It had nothing to do with like Ray, and like that was disappointing to me and like sad. Like I think he was being worse to Ray in that situation. But like, listen, Ray by no means, like, you can't just go date your best friend and then like still be hooking up with Sand. Although like,
I mean,
I disagree in the whole like who's at fault, who is worse in the Ray Mew situation, because I definitely think they both went into it knowing that they were using each other as a means to an end, which was a good means to an end. Like they both, I think, needed to do that situation to be like done with it. I don't think Mew was malicious in that, like, the way that it starts, because I was hoping that when they're laying on the ground in the hostel and he's like, maybe I should give you a chance. I was hoping that like the next scene would be him be like, but no, I don't really want to, because for 2 years he's been very clear and been very much like, don't kiss me in my sleep. I don't like you. Let's not do this. And then suddenly he's like, I don't know, maybe.
But when you have a face like,
I mean, truly
that
beautiful.
He like realistically, Ray has always been Mew's like go-to like protector in a way. Like every time you needed something, he would call Ray, and Ray would be there in an instant. So even though it sounds perfect, so like F Ray for doing that, but it was like, how can you not give him a chance in this opportunity when like Ray was saying all the right things too at that hostel on the thing where it's like, why not just give me a chance? Why not see how this goes? You know, so it's kind of like, and he's like, I'm here with you after all this. It's kind of like, Mew also would have been like an asshole if he didn't give the chance.
If he had,
in my opinion.
Here's what I like. First of all, we're more than 5 minutes and we can say fuck.
I was like wondering, I was like, when can I cuss? When can the real Bobby come out?
No, this is why I think that there was some maliciousness in what Mew did, was because Top had made it clear to him, like, I don't like Ray. I don't want Ray around you. I'm threatened by Ray. And so it was a way for him to hurt Top. But the real maliciousness came in at the Halloween party.
No, 1,000%.
Where Ray went to kiss him and he didn't let him kiss him. And then because he was trying to make Top mad,
he was trying to hurt
finally
him,
kissed Ray. Like that is malicious. Like, you know, you're being you are using someone to be mean to like 2 other people at that point.
I am a Mew defender. At the time of the hostel situation, I don't think it was out of malice. I don't think he was doing it on purpose. I think he was like, let me get...
Not at the hostel.
Oh, no. I think it was malicious later. Like, at the Halloween, 1,000%, I thought it was malicious. I think in the beginning, it was like, this guy has always been there for me. Let me give him a chance and really try. Because they did kiss at the hostel.
Right.
So... And it was, I thought it got malicious later where he should have been like, I know it's only been like 2 hours or something or like 24 hours, but like this isn't the vibe. Yeah. Where he started using him. So that's when I thought Mew was kind of like swaying towards
it was like he realized he didn't really want to be with him, but he was like, oh, I can still use this to my advantage.
Or like use him as
where it gets sketchy.
Yeah, or he was using him as a distraction, honestly, to get over the heartbreak of Top.
But I do think how it began, I think that from Mew's perspective, I think from Ray's perspective, it was like, well, if I don't do this, I've been in love with him for 2 years. If I don't at least try, like, I owe it to myself. I owe it to him because this is also my best friend, right? Like, I owe it to him. But I think from Mew's perspective, it was like, well, Mew just wants to be loved in that moment, right? He wants somebody that will love him unconditionally and so deeply. Yeah. And what's ironic about it, like, what is ironic about that is that he chose someone who then the whole time that they were dating was still hooking up with Sam.
Yeah. Yeah, that...
Like, but but he didn't know about that. And in the end, it didn't matter. Like, he didn't care enough for it to matter. But, like, what's ironic is that he chose a person that still did the exact same thing. Yeah.
Unfortunate for Boeing, Mew had already used Ray to get back at Top, so Boeing never had a chance to be used by Mew to get back at Top. Oh, and also, Top never would have cared if... I don't think Top would have been as hurt by Boeing as he was by Ray.
Because Top was so insecure about Ray from the beginning.
Yeah. The dynamic of, like, the friends, like, that's what I would love to see is, like, a prequel to, like, how these friends became friends.
Yes. That would be so good.
Isn't that what we saw in Tom Home Chong-Li?
Well, maybe.
Honestly, possibly.
Because like a Bebe Cow Tongue and a Bebe Neo.
Is that a rewatch?
I know.
Are we gonna rewatch that? And then we can watch Only Friends after.
Do I want to rewatch? I actually do love Neo's character in Tom Han Chong-Li. Personally, I think he's the best character in Tom Han Chong-Li. Second only to Janhae in Tom Han Chong-Li. Yeah, she's awesome. But it'd be interesting to see. I would like to see how they each individually became together as a group. Yeah. Like, who knew who first? Or were they just all in the same faculty? Because, you know, Thailand's like that.
Yeah.
My theory is that Boston and Ray hooked up. And it was like Sand and Nick when they like kissed and then they quickly realized no thank you. I think Sand and Boston hooked up and then the next morning they were like no thank you, but let's still be friends and chill because we both like to party. And then they went to the party and then Mew was like, I don't have any friends, but I'll hang out here at this table. And they were like, you look like a sweet little angel that we can corrupt, so like let's do the thing. And so potentially they just like naturally all became friends that way.
I mean, we'll never know. The only people that will truly know are JoJo and Nino.
I know. I wonder if the book tells you that.
Oh, maybe.
Nobody's talked about that. Someone please translate the book.
Let us know.
There are people, I feel like Twitter will eventually have translated the entire book because there are people that keep translating like
bits and pieces.
Excerpts. Yeah.
So my Thai teacher suggested, she was like, her mom is going back to Thailand and she was like, would you like to get the book and like you can like learn to read because I'm learning to read and write Thai, right? Like, and I was like, actually, I never thought about the fact
that
that
your
like
homework to translate the book.
I never thought about the fact that I potentially could start like reading novels because like I was telling my Thai teacher we had a really cool moment where we went live on IG and someone was typing in Thai and I could like
read it.
I knew what they were saying and it was a really simple conversation, but I was able to like interact with someone by like reading their words and then like. I recently was able to like have a conversation with Mimi, who you
Yeah.
guys all know, like in Thai, like
And we always wanted to read the You're My Sky book.
yeah, and it
Oh.
just never occurred to me. But maybe I'll get the Only Friends book and I'll like I can do like a dramatic reading or something.
I love that.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
So,
okay.
Sand perfection.
Sand
Ray's
is perfect.
Sand is an interesting character too because he's so gray. Because like
No, he's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything he did perfect. He
Yeah.
never did anything wrong.
He didn't.
Even if you want to say he did something wrong, you're wrong. It
Yeah.
wasn't wrong. He was never wrong.
here's the thing. Even when his actions are questionable, I'm not saying they're wrong.
I never
because like
questioned it.
when he like straight up broke his phone to get
I love
the
that.
sound,
I
thought it was
then
genius.
I think that's genius. I think he's
it's
just a really
genius.
smart boy.
I think
But
he
the
was
thing
like,
is, like-
actually, let me get the dirt on this mofo who
But
stole
that's
my
what I'm saying is, like,
ex-man.
there's
I'm gonna break this shit so I could get the... genius.
I mean,
But-
I think.
Well, Vito, Bethan, we don't want to hear this because Sand is perfect.
Yeah, no.
There's justification
Honestly, I
for
had
everything
no-
he
Yeah.
does, honestly.
Yes,
No, no-
I think that's what we
yeah.
all said. With
No,
all these
that's- yeah.
characters, there's always a justification for Sand's character. There's never a straight up wrong. He's wrong. Never for Sand.
He's always justified. Here's
Yeah.
the thing.
He's forgiven for his cuteness.
And then that was the
I
whole
don't
thing
think,
where like
I don't think he has any questionable actions because
No.
everything he does, I don't have questions about.
that was the thing too. If you think Sand has done anything wrong
Yes,
and is
tell
bad,
us.
tell us down
If you
below.
ever dislike, because I feel like at one point in the show, every one of these characters was disliked.
I never
except
disliked
for
Sand. Sand was
Sand.
perfect the whole time. I don't
The
think he did
real
anything wrong.
MVP.
Because I remember people were mad, a little mad, because they thought he only got close to Ray because of the dad situation and like paying him off. But it turned out he didn't accept no
wasn't.
money. He just was in love with his boy and wanted him to be saved. So Sand was always perfect.
Because,
Sand was
okay,
always
here's a
perfect.
great example. We had this conversation yesterday about the difference between like a secret and a lie.
Ugh.
And so in Sand's situation, he found out a secret that
Mhm.
was potentially that would hurt another person, and
Mhm.
so he needed to help the truth come out. Like that was not a secret. He needed to like hold tight because people were lying about their relationship.
Yeah.
He's a warrior for justice and truth and peace. He is a freaking Powerpuff Girl. Okay, he's
Who
sugar
just-
and spice and everything nice, and then a little bit of chemical X, and that's what makes him so hot. And like
True.
he truly
Cheers.
rallies for justice and peace and righting wrongs. He's everything that Bank Tanatip and Gen Y wishes he was. He's perfect.
I want him to right my wrongs every night.
Oh my god.
God. I know I said we were 5 minutes in, but two.
Okay. Ray Sand, they were fun.
Perfect. Well,
Yes.
Sand perfect. Ray.
I feel like we should get this over with. Boston.
No. Ew. Can we save them for last?
Ayla, no, because we should just get over with because Ayla tried so hard to believe in Boston.
Yeah, I
hope
never
for the
believed
best.
in him. He was trash from the beginning.
I was rooting for him so hard. And I was like, the thing about Boston is I was like, my perspective, and people would always react really big when I would say this, but I would always say, Boston has never lied. Because I think that's true. I actually still stand by this until the very last episode. And that's what broke my heart the most. Is that Boston he was always truthful about being an asshole. I never said he was a good person. I said he was always exactly truthful about the kind of person he was.
No, he definitely lied in the last episode.
That's what I said up until episode 12.
Oh,
and
got it,
that's why
got
it
it.
broke my heart so
Oh,
much.
yes, I see what you're saying. Got it.
That's why episode 12 broke my heart so much, is because up until then, he wasn't a liar. He wasn't a good person.
Mhm.
But unlike everyone else that was playing little mind games and like kind of like talking behind each other's backs and whatever, right? Like having all this like weird, complicated drama, but they were good people, right? But like with Boston, he was never a bad person. And I always thought it was like, he was
never
always
good.
a bad
I was
person.
like,
He
I was like,
never a liar.
girl.
Sorry. He was always a bad person. He was never a liar about being a bad person. He was
Mhm.
never a liar about like, he always was like, this is who I am. I hook up with dudes that already have boyfriends. Right in the very first episode,
Yeah.
they tell us he does this. He always was like, I hook up with dudes who have boyfriends. I sleep around. I don't make commitments. I take I take tasteful nudes. Whatever, like all this stuff. Like I hook up in public. I'm a partier.
Here's the question.
I don't even care. And so like, I always thought it was interesting that everybody would get mad at him for being exactly who he was and exactly who he told you he was. He never pretended to be anything different.
That was the thing. I wasn't mad about who he was. I accept it.
I mean his friends.
Unlike his friends would
get mad at him. Well, but I'm like, you're his friend. This is who he's been from day one.
No, I think they accepted him though. I remember Mew always gave him that excuse, like, that's just Boston. I literally remember them saying, like, that's just Boston. It was, we got, I think as viewers, or at least I'll speak for myself, I got mad because he did it to one of his friends. That's where it crossed the line. I was never mad about Boston being a hoe. I was like, if you gonna bang someone, it was just like, we use this, like, this example. It's like, if I was the biggest hoe in the world, but it was like, to me, and you guys were like, it's just Robbie. Robbie's a hoe. He's banging people's boyfriends. It's different if I bang your boyfriend or if I bang your boyfriend.
But would that be surprising considering, like I said,
I think it's like, but there was also like that built trust with them, I think.
But you have to know that's a risk, right? If you're talking about somebody, this is your friend who's like sleeping with other dudes' men's, right? Like all the time, and who is like actively like just causing trouble. Like it's fun and cute and fresh until he does it to you, but
no, it was just the way it rolled out. Like Boston being the reason why Top and Mew realistically got together was he introduced Top to Mew. So it was just like the sequence of events just made me feel like Boston's the biggest piece of trash and a liar in that sense, because he realistically wanted Top, because as soon as Top gave Mew that attention, he was jealous and
he never
wanted
said
Top.
He didn't want Top. That's the thing, is like him wanting, like...
No, he never said he wanted him, though.
Because he sleeps around with everyone, right? So, like, for him, he was like, I don't know, Top could go hook up with Mew and he could still hook up with me and, like, whatever. Like, why wouldn't he?
But he knows Mew's character and he knows how Mew is, that Mew would not be okay with that.
He knows Mew wouldn't, but he knows Top would. So,
yeah, like, but back to the, why would you do that to your best friend?
In his, like, broken boss.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about, Top was a hoe. Devil Top. I say that. Devil Top. But he knows Mew wouldn't be okay with it. So he's lying to his best friend. Because there was that whole thing with, like, he's just, like, trying to, like, separate them from the beginning because he wanted to hook up with Top. So he's, like, making stuff up and lying about stuff and, like, he's doing things that are, like...
No, he didn't make anything up.
With the whole... No, he implied that that Mew and Ray had, like, a full-on, like, sex.
No, okay, he didn't. Maybe he implied it, but he didn't say that. I actually asked about this because I thought maybe it was a mistranslation, and it was. What he said was, like, oh, they kiss really hot. Like, it got, like, while they were kissing, it got really hotter, and so, like, the way that they translate is, like, it got even more, they did even more. It was, like, a weird translation. So, like, he never actually said they banged.
Well, he did, because he's in that whole thing at
when he got in a
Ray
fight,
and Sand.
what he said is, I bet they even did. He didn't say they did. He was like, I bet you
He's implying,
But again, what he never said he knew they did for sure. He said, I bet you they did.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, I bet you they even did.
But that's just him making an assumption.
Right.
Which is lying.
But he never said, no, it's not lying.
That's him I think they when you make an assumption, you're making an ass out of you and me. Like, I've always been like that, so you never assume.
But I don't think that saying something because you assume, especially if you preface it by being like, oh, well, I think this is a thing, or me personally, or I assume this.
The context in which he said it was like, it's different if, like, you assume something. Like I said, I don't like assuming things, but the way he, like, said it made it sound like that was the truth and nothing but the truth. If we rewatch that episode, like, it was just like...
Because Boston knows Mew, so, like... Top is giving, I think that's the bigger problem, is that Top is giving Boston more credit because he is his close friend. Like, he's the one that would know. He's like, obviously, you...
But he never says, I bet you they got together to Top. He says that when he's getting in that, like, fist fight with Sand and Nick.
But then he says it in the kitchen at the hostel. He's like, there's probably more. Like, they're probably still hooking up now.
Right, but again, like... That, first of all, you know this person is not a stranger to you, and also, like, it makes an ass out of somebody else when somebody's like, versus, again, every single thing he ever said was true. They did kiss. He did like it, right? Like, talking about Ray and Mew. Like, Ray was really into Mew. Ray was actively pursuing Mew, right? Like, every single thing he said. I'm not saying he was a good person at all. He's a bad person. What I'm saying is he was truthful. And, like, you don't have to be a liar to be a bad person. And I think that's what everybody would get hung up on when I would say this. Because everybody had the same reaction that you guys just had, where you, like, freaked out and jumped down my throat and, like, started attacking me about it. Is that, like, no. He was truthful from the beginning. That doesn't telling the truth doesn't necessarily make you a good person.
Well,
It doesn't mean, like, being honest doesn't mean you're a good person or a better person than anybody else. You can still be an asshole and be a shitty person. Like, that's the thing, and that's why it was, like, so surprising to me that anybody was surprised that he did any of this stuff, because he was honest about the fact that he sucks.
well, I think too is just like how you interpreted it was different from others, or like I did not interpret it like that. For me, it was like he was always lying because he wanted his guts rearranged by Top. I think it was the end goal was like to get Top in the car by insinuating things, and to me, it was lying about a situation or stretching or making the truth a little more than what it was, which to me is lying. By if you know for a fact they kissed, okay, they kissed. Here's the video. But when you insinuate more, to me, that's lying. When you don't know the facts or that's happening, so you could get your guts rearranged in the backseat by the guy you
all
want.
very gray, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, to me, like, he didn't seem like an honest person.
But I
to
think
me,
that's
my character.
I think being colored by, like, the hatred, because I also hate him, but, like, if you think about it logically.
But also, I'd say the difference of, like, what you just said, lying is different than being dishonest. Because or
from being manipulative. He was manipulative.
Boston is like, he's like a little, it's all a little gray.
I think everything's connected, though. To me, it's connected. Like, manipulation and lying is connected because manipulation is a form of lying to me.
My biggest question is, why did Boston want to hook up with Top?
He literally says,
the pipe was good.
Well, but he was like, oh, now that you've been talking to Mew, you're looking good to me. He literally says that.
It was a jealousy thing, because we always felt we always felt like Boston was for some reason jealous of Mew's, like, because they were so opposite. Mew was on this end, and Boston was on this end.
Is it in relation to Mew? Is Boston wanting to hook up with Top because
Top wanted Mew over Top not wanting Boston? Yeah, we all agreed on that.
He just wanted Top because Top was like the thing.
No, I think he wanted, we talked about this, he wanted Top because Top wanted Mew over him. Yeah. It was like a challenge for him. Like, that was
he wanted to prove he could still get him.
Yeah.
So then my other question is, how long do you think the Top Boston hookups would have lasted had Top not shut it down?
I think it would have continuously happened, because at that point, I think Devil Top was like, he wasn't ready to commit to
Boston's broken brain was
like, it's not a big deal to have sex.
It's not a big deal. Just like we saw in Ep 12, in his broken brain, he's like,
stupid.
This isn't a big deal. Boyfriend and hooking up are two different things. Like, you can have both. Like, right? So, like, I think...
I have feelings for you, but this is just a physical thing.
Yeah, but actually, I see what you're saying now. Would Boston still have wanted Top that badly, even after he got him? I don't know. I think potentially he would have moved on to, like, a new hookup, a new pursuit.
I think he would have still wanted him as long as Top was giving Mew attention. I think he would have wanted him the whole time, because it was more like, haha, because it was that jealousy thing with Mew. I think it's like, I'm sleeping with your... That's where I go back to, like, I think he's a liar and he's a bad person, because I think as long as Top was, like, like, you know, like, the main, and realistically, Boston was Top's side, because to Top... Mew was his main guy, the main one he was focusing, the main one he wanted to be a relationship with. So for me, it was like Boston just wanted to say he could also have him while he was focused on him.
I really want to know if Boston and Top hooked up when Top was dating Boa.
That's what we all wanted. Y'all need to ask JoJo and Ninu. Be like, question, honey.
Timeline. We need timeline clarification.
Yeah, we need timeline clarification. Or season 2. Revive this all in season 2.
Because I wonder if that's what happens with Top, is that, like, he sleeps with someone new and he was like, oh, I don't want to be with the boy I've been with for the last couple of months, because there's still something better out there. Like,
which was Mew.
And I will say, I think that, like, that's why it was so, like, I think that Mew and Boston are polar opposites. Yeah. And I think that they both get judged very harshly. Mm-hmm. But I think that for Boston, again, his broken Boston brain, he's like, we're opposites. Why is this one person being perceived as, like, better than me, right? And I think that just, like, really gets on his nerves, and I think that's why he wants to, like, pick at it.
Oh, 1,000%, because in this dynamic, Mew is the angel and Boston's the devil. So 1,000%, I totally see where that makes sense too. It was just the way it rolled out. It was just like, it was your friend.
I think I go back to it was your friend. Yeah. He was always a bad person, and I think that, like, he gets his just desserts, and, like, but, like, what's the most disappointing about it? for me was in episode 12 is
that
that he became a liar. Like a flat out, not a manipulator, not a, not a, like a mischievous person, not a,
like a manipulator.
Not a cause of chaos. He became just a flat out liar. Like through the entire scene in the club, he is just lying back to back to back. And it just like, it broke my heart because this whole time he's been this thing, like he's been a bad person and like a terrible character and like I don't like him. Yeah. But he at least was very black and white in the sense that he was very honest about exactly what he was. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's like this just like dirty, gross. Like I kind of felt like what I feel like Nick might have felt of like, I thought I knew, and Nick even says it in the final scene where he's like, I thought I knew what you were, but like I don't, like I feel gross. I feel like I got played. That like Nick was like, I thought I could accept this, but now that I see what it really is, like it's gross. Like it's not just like disappointing. It's gross to me, and I think that's what helped Nick move on so quickly, or not like quickly, but like come to a very final decision about
it. This is not the guy I need to be with. He was
like, I thought I knew exactly what he was, and I was just complete. And even though I didn't like, like it wasn't ideal, like I could have dealt with it. But now that it's this other thing that's just way too gross, like that's the line. Like I'm done. Yeah,
I think that was like an eye opener for the Boston Defenders. Was that scene because like we even talked about this. Boston is who Boston like is. When he started like faking a personality or some like a characteristic for Nick. That was the wrong way to go about it.
I think because he was lonely.
I think because he lost all his friends. And he knew Nick cared, but it was just like he became a liar at that point because that wasn't who he really was.
And he also, it is a very different telling of essentially Ray and Mew. Yeah. Right? Because if you think about that scene when Nick finally goes and like sits with Boston after Boston's been like cast out from his friend group and they're like crying. Oh my God, and this scene is actually really beautiful too, but only because Mark the Kin is like a sweet baby angel.
So good.
But like when they're crying and he kisses him and he's like, I missed you so much, and they kiss, and it's just like, I think that in that moment, like that's the hostile moment for Ray and Mew, but just like a different version of it and like a way more dysfunctional and messed up. But like in that and this is what's so, oh my God, I'm blowing my own mind right now. Like in this exact same scenario, Mew and Boston are the opposites of each other, right? They're both using this other person that's like their friend, like to fill this hole, like as reactionary, right? Like they're doing the same thing but in very different ways.
Yeah, because Boston knows that Nick is really, really safe for him, right? Like he's not like a Gap who's going to record some video and like spread it on the internet. He's not Adam who, if he gets scorned, he's not going to like do these things. 'Cause even with the clip, like Nick never meant for that clip to get out. He just wanted it to confirm what he felt was happening.
Well, and also he felt so guilty. This sweet Nick. Nick, honestly, here's the thing. I would also go to the mat for Nick, and I would say Nick also never did anything wrong. I would defend Nick bugging that car in this moment.
I think didn't we talk about that?
I don't think bugging the car was
psycho.
Wrong.
I'm psycho. I would bug the car too.
You needed to know.
I will defend him bugging that car.
I don't think.
Here's the thing: is it wrong if you're the only person that was like meant to see it?
I don't think so.
Let me tell you right now, I would bug my man's car. I'll bug your man's car. I'll bug your man's car. I'll bug all the men's car. I don't think that's wrong. I
mean, not if you're not trying to like take someone down. Like, I mean, okay, so like,
I just want to make sure we ain't getting played here.
If Gap had kept that, on the scenario.
If Gap had kept that sex tape to himself, was it wrong?
I mean,
he wanted to watch him and Mia like do
okay, that's like record. I guess that's like because you get the face like the image. Yeah, I think the actual video and like the image, like Ayla said. That takes it too far. At least the sound, you could deny, like, that's not me. Well, like, that's not how I sound.
Also, the difference with this is that with Gap, with that video, he knew he was recording them having sex. Nick didn't know what he was going to be recording. He was just trying to find out information. He didn't know that he was going to be recording somebody having sex without their consent.
Okay, so what if you recorded a room and someone just happened to have sex in it? Can you keep that?
I mean...
Well, why would you want to keep it if it's a rando, you weirdo?
If it was like a rando.
It's not a rando.
Yeah, well, she's dressed like Boston. It makes sense. You're becoming the character.
She should have been dressed by Gap. Take off your shirt.
Yeah.
It's not a rando though. That's what I'm saying. Like if
Okay, so who are you filming? What
Are you
room
filming
recording?
yourself?
What room are you recording?
Yeah.
Who's having sex in?
if Gap put a security camera in his room and then happened to have sex in his room.
I mean, yes,
Well, that's
I would
different.
argue he can keep that.
Yeah, I would if I had a camera right there, you're welcome. Like
Speaking
you're
of
gonna
Gap,
know.
a Wild Drake appearing. That was fantastic.
Love a Wild Drake appearing.
He fully committed to that and was the character
Should
that
have
was
been
like
committed.
a fun. He was a fun addition.
I think
enjoyed
too,
that.
clarification
I
we
hope
all need to
that-
make before we get like kind of attacked. Boston's character was great for this series.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he
Yeah.
made this
He was
series
fun to
so
watch.
entertaining,
Yeah.
so dynamic.
He had everyone talking.
His character wasn't the greatest. Like just because we didn't like the turnout, that doesn't mean the character
Well,
wasn't
I
great.
was a defender
Yeah.
the whole
No,
time. I was
but
like, he just is who he is.
I just think we need to clarify that because I wouldn't want this series without Boston.
Right.
I think all of us would agree. Like
I was a Boston defender.
Yeah.
He
And
broke
Neo
my heart.
killed
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He broke
Neil
my heart
is
in the end.
amazing.
Listen, I will say Boston got his every time that somebody he got bit in the butt a few times,
Yeah.
probably literally, where these boys that he hooked up with, like he was getting really messy and
Yeah.
he hooked up with his friend's brother and suddenly he's like trying to expose him on the internet and he's like lying to his sister about the fact that they took advantage of him.
The character,
He got messy.
Boston's character, it was just like when he was starting to become a good person for Nick, I felt like it didn't feel natural or it felt like forced because of
my
his
God.
actions prior. It was just too much.
Here's the other thing is okay, so in Ep 12, Boston is basically asks Top why did Mew forgive you but not me,
yeah.
right? What's the
Yeah.
difference? And Top says, well, I did
Mew.
the work
Yeah, I
to
did.
earn it.
To earn his
okay.
trust back.
Yeah, he was like, I did the work
Work
to earn it.
Don't compare us because I was here did the work. Yeah.
I think that the main difference between the two of them, right? Because this question came up a couple times today at the
Yeah, I did.
a couple times people were like, why is it okay for
Mm-hmm.
Mew to forgive Top and not Boston?
Right.
What is the difference here? And a few people are like, well, it's a friendship, whatever.
Yeah,
but what
I
I'm
think we talked
realizing
about it.
as we're talking through this is the real difference is that when given the opportunity for a redemption arc, Top took it.
He
Yes.
killed it.
Top took the opportunity for a redemption arc and went on it
Yeah.
and he took that journey.
He
versus-
committed to that.
I held my breath the entire
The
redemption arc.
arc,
I was
yeah.
like, please.
Well, and
Please
we'll
don't
talk
mess up.
And we'll talk about this couple next. But the difference here is that Boston, in that moment with Adam, when Adam follows him out of that club, he
That could have been his
had
start,
the opportunity
opportunity.
to start a redemption arc, and he didn't. He
Yeah.
went the opposite way.
Yeah.
And I think with
Yeah.
Boston's character, he thought simply apologizing was enough.
Yeah.
I think that was a thing instead of
Changing his actions.
changing his actions, going there and being like, I'm really sorry, what can I do? He thought, I'm sorry, Mew, for hooking up with your boyfriend would be enough.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not enough. Because I do think, I believe in second chances. I just think, honestly, Top said it. He put in the work versus Boston didn't. He just expected,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, to be
Well,
enough.
Boston had so many opportunities
Yeah, he...
to have a redemption
Redemption
arc,
arc.
the redemption arc that Top had.
Yeah.
Boston had so many opportunities to have that redemption arc, and he just every time consistently he took the opposite turn.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's the real difference there between the two of them of why is it okay to forgive one and not the other? Because they both did the bad thing. At the start of that, I would argue that Top was worse because Top was the one pursuing Mew.
Mm-hmm.
Top was the one that understood that Mew was a virgin. Top was the one that was going to him and from just a health and safety perspective, he should have told him. That's not okay.
Yeah.
And so and then we'll get into this, but Top consistently took so they both did really bad things. In this action, one was not worse than the other. They were, I would argue, both equally bad with their actions for different reasons.
Yeah, different reasons.
But
different
when given
things.
the opportunity to fix it, Top did, and Boston never actually did.
I think as a me, just growing up, my mentality has always kind of been bros before hoes, chicks before dicks. To me, they're both wrong. Absolutely. Both devils. Devil Top, devil Boston. To me, Boston was a little worse because Top didn't really form that connection, deep connection, or have that history of years with Mew like Boston did. So to me, Boston was a little worse.
More.
Barely. I get what you're saying because I agree, but barely just to me, Boston was more in the wrong. Just like barely, like literally, like an inch, maybe.
Yeah.
Clearly.
So this brings us into Top and Mew, and why don't we start with this? Because what I think.
Hold on. Before that, I want to say I hope Nick is living a happy life
with Daddy Dan.
Oh yeah, in my heart, Nick and Daddy Dan ended up together.
I hope Daddy Dan is rearranging Nick's guts right now.
I know, and you know what I loved about Daddy Dan is the fact that like that whole conversation. I think there were multiple times throughout Nick's journey with Boston that he got such good confirmations of like he had the moment with Daddy Dan where Daddy Dan on the steps was like, I really like you and I want to do this. I want to be your boyfriend. Tell me how to do this. I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
And then they had that moment in the bathroom with Adam where Nick was like, I know this isn't really about Boston. It's about you and like what you're dealing with because
Adam
I was
just
there.
had the most intense gay awakening. He was just really going through something, you guys.
It's true.
He was in gay awakening, gay denial, but also more gay awakening because he went from like denying the whole Boston thing and blaming Dust everyone at the club. He was like, "You've been here. Who do you want?" Like I was
and
like,
then he thought that meant, and then because like everything wasn't as exciting as Boston, he thought that meant he was in love with Boston, and then he was just really going through it.
And then I think
who do you blame for that situation, Adam or Boston?
Boston.
Yeah.
Boston had the responsibility at that point to know that this was a boy's first time. And like there is a responsibility that you bring into it with somebody when it's their first time if it's not yours.
Because you know your first is always going to have like a connection.
You've been through that.
Yeah.
You've been through that yourself if you're the one like.
Yeah.
And so not only did he have that responsibility of like keeping things clear with Adam, like if that's what he was giving him.
And that's true because I feel like that's what Choom's point was. Like why she was so upset with Boston is like, that's my little brother. You knew that. Like that was too much.
But also he had the responsibility of that being his friend's sibling. And like, nah. So then, like someone that has siblings, like that's
fighting. I'm gonna square up. If any of my friends did that to my like little sister, I'm fighting you. I'm surprised Choom didn't kill him. I would have killed like absolutely. That is like crossing the line.
There's no chance if you
and I'm
like
sure
there's
he's
no
known
coming back
him
from that.
Like since the Choom did say that you've known him since we were freshmen. Since I was a freshman. That's wrong.
So then I think when Nick saw Boston with Boeing, he was finally like, okay, like I fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. We've now hit a third time. Like this is it. I have the like confirmation that I need that like Boston is who he is, and as much as I love and care about him, like he is not the person for me. He's not who I want in this moment.
And I will give Boston a little credit with that because when he lied, straight up lied. But then when he was like, Nick was just like, I just saw what you did. He was just like, I didn't think that was a big deal. So like we were getting back to like, a little bit of wrong, liar, bad. But like we were getting like the original Boston.
Except that no, it wasn't the original Boston. That's the thing. And that's what was so heartbreaking for me as a Boston defender the whole time. Is that the original Boston was a liar. Right? Like that's what I'm saying is the whole 11 episodes he was gaslighting and presenting as not a liar, and the whole time he's a liar because he cannot make this excuse of him being like, well, to me boyfriend means something different than just a cup. No, that is a flat out lie because when you were sitting there with your tongue down Boeing's throat, which first of all, like I like how dry, like I get it.
Yeah,
but,
oh my god, ruined my life.
Here's the thing. Boeing says to you, do you want to go back to my place? And you say, no, my boyfriend's waiting for me.
Yeah.
And he knows about this, and this is fine.
Yeah, no,
because
that was when all of us gay gas.
Is he okay with this?
Yeah.
And he says, we talked about it, it's fine. And that was a flat out lie. So if you really thought it was okay because it was different, you wouldn't have said that lie in the club. So then all of a sudden you coming back and being like, oh, I thought it was different. No, that's a lie.
Or he was in the bathroom the whole time. When he was like, I was in the bathroom, sorry it took so long.
You're a liar the whole time. He's flat out lying to just everybody at all times.
Yeah.
And like, it was gross. Like it felt gross.
No, it did feel gross. And that was like, I was like, Boeing, since when did you care about a boyfriend?
Yeah.
I know.
I was like, okay, now you're a human.
I mean, listen, to be fair with Ray and Sand, he did try and include everybody.
I feel cheated. JoJo, Nunu, I feel very cheated with that.
I do appreciate that we at least got a kiss.
I wish we got a 3-way because I was so close. So close.
He did try and include everyone.
Boeing.
I'll be Boeing for now.
Maybe we'll have a throuple one day. GMMTV, if you're listening.
Oh, I don't know if it'll be GMMTV who gives us that.
I mean, 3 will be free happened. Also, shout out P. JoJo.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, what did you consider that a throuple? I didn't consider that a throuple.
Yeah, they didn't stay
had a
together, but
threesome.
they had a threesome and they were
That's
a throuple.
different though. A threesome and a throuple are
they
very,
were a throuple
very
while
different.
they were on the ride.
Because
And then at the end,
because I feel like Tay's character and the girl character never liked each other.
No, they did because they
hooked up at the beginning.
They hooked up to they hooked up before Joss and Tay
But
did.
he didn't want to.
Yeah, he didn't want
necessarily
to.
want to. But no, they did love each other. They weren't necessarily. But you don't have to be like. So to be in a throuple,
You don't
have to.
We're gonna teach you about throuples.
Well, no, there's like.
Kayla presented as she's an expert in throuble. She was like,
I've watched
to be in a throuple.
I watched a documentary. I'm not in a throuple. Let me clarify that.
I thought you were.
That was fantastic.
This is not my personal lived experience, but I have watched a documentary about this. You don't necessarily have to like
all
have
be romantic.
sex with another one in the throuple. It has to be a committed relationship where you all agree that the 3 of you are is in a throuple, and like they do in 3 Will Be Free. They do like while they're on the run, they're like, "This is us. Like we're committed to each other." Like
Okay.
Anyways.
So now my favorites.
Yes, Top and Mew. Yes, so Top and Mew
are perfect.
First of all, Book and Force killed these characters.
Oh my!
They really
you know what? We have to
JoJo-
shout out everybody. Honestly,
JoJo and
everyone
Book
killed their
Force,
characters.
God. They were the thing that we needed.
Listen, I am
Ninu.
obsessed with Force, and this is something that developed in me later in life.
Yeah, she was not.
This was like a late stage obsession because
the characters that they had up until this point were not good.
Well, we interviewed the characters they had up until this point. I leaned Book. In Book Force, I leaned Book. And, I remember interviewing them and talking to them. And, this is so funny. And, I'll admit this and, here. I fully, we finished that interview, hung up the phone, clicked, whatever, not the phone, but, turned off the interview. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Force hated me. I said that. I was like, Force was not into me. He was, just not feeling this vibe. And then it was interesting because all of the Force book fans
were they were so
comfortable, they had so much fun with you, they were so sweet with you, all this stuff. And I guess because I didn't know his personality at that point, I just didn't pick up on it, and so I was confused. But it's the difference in personality because Book in that interview, I was just very taken with him. He says something in that interview where he talks about being it's so cute, I'm gonna die. He talks about being afraid of ghosts. And so he's talking about the position in which he sleeps. And we asked, it was kind of a weird question, but we did ask the question because it had to do with the show at the time.
Yeah.
But because Book's hobby is sleeping. So we were
Right.
Not in a weird way, but we were like, what position do you sleep in? And it wasn't weird, trust me. And he was like, oh, I sleep with a pillow. He got very detailed. He was like, I sleep with a pillow with my back against the wall because I'm scared of ghosts. And I got it immediately. And it was the way he said it was the cutest thing. He was like, and I just understood what he meant, that if his back's against the wall, the ghost can't get him, duh. Duh. But Beth Ann was confused. She was like, is there a ghost in your wall? She didn't understand.
I was like, I don't get it.
And I was just Beth Ann was confused and I was over here dying because I was like, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard anyone say ever. And so I was just very taken by Book. And so the Force thing happened to me later. I started watching a bunch of Book Force appearances because couldn't get them out of my head. Force and Book, as a couple.
Yeah.
And I started, getting Force more. I was like, I think I get him. I was like, I think I get this. And now I am, obsessed with
And that's
Force.
why I think Force killed Top, because he's so different from Top.
Yeah,
Top
he's very different from Top.
Very, very different.
Force had me, when he was shirtless. It was... It was
Listen,
there.
I'm a face man.
Oh, I'm
not,
Sometimes the dark room is fine. So
oh my god,
as long as you feel abs.
But yeah, I will say, so Top and Mew are interesting characters because they are so different.
Yeah.
And Mew is an interesting character. He's definitely somebody I relate to more. And in that first episode, we see all of the friends putting him up on the pedestal. They're all the ones that are you need to be hooking up with dudes. What is your problem? You need to get laid. All that kind of stuff. And he's like, it's not something I need. It's not I'm not trying to fill a hole in my heart. I'm not trying to just sleep with any random dude. I'm cool being me. And so there, especially throughout this whole show, because he also has kind of a metamorphosis, right? But he doesn't really, because he stays true to himself. Like, even though he changes as a person, the foundation is still there, that he's still like a decent, level-headed person.
Mm-hmm.
Even when the man that he has fallen in love with cheats on him with one of his best friends, he gets up to the line, but he never crosses it. And I think they kept true, both of these characters. I really kind of liked what they did with Top, because when Top sees that he's getting a second chance, Top gets like really insecure, right?
Yeah.
He's like following Mew around, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like really concerned for Mew as a person, and he becomes this really interesting character of like, he's concerned that he starts to smoke and like do all these things. And like, that's, I think, the mark of when I saw that Top had changed, because he did care more about Mew, right? When they're in the shower and he's like, honestly, usually I just cared about coming, and now I care about your feelings. Like, he actually meant it, because through the rest of the episode, even when they weren't boyfriends and weren't together, Top was very much like, even if we don't end up together, like, I'm still concerned about you, and I care for you, and I want you to be a better person, even though I did a bad thing to you and it's caused you to kind of go down this like weird, deep, dark hole. Like, it was interesting to watch these two characters evolve in such a way that they still stayed true to who they were, but they became pretty different people.
I think when it came to Top and Mew, they were my favorite in the sense of character development.
Yeah.
Because Top was different. And then you talked about this a lot too, which I'm sure you're going to touch up on. Your view on Mew was he was kind of like no color, like you'll get into that. He was bland. But when he had that moment of hurt, we saw a different side of him, which like gave him more depth to his personality and who he was. It was just no one brought that out of him. So we see like this perfect boy, like this boy next door, like everyone loves him. He does no wrong. And then something wrong happens to him. And then we see a different side of him. So there's like more personality as the series goes on with Mew. Top is this bad boy, doesn't care about anyone but himself and the other head he has that's not attached to the top of his body. And he ends up caring about someone other than himself. And we just see so much character development. Like, those two, I think, for me, had the best character development and like ended so well for me. Like, their storyline and even individually, to me, were great. Like, they ended great.
Yeah, I would argue that Top didn't, or that Mew didn't change as a person. Like, that's what I think, and that's why I personally had frustration with Mew in the first few episodes, is that nobody is just one shade of a color. Like, we are all a color, but like hues of a color. We're all many, many hues that feed into like this one big unique color. Nobody's flat, right? Nobody's flat paint. Nobody's flat matte. And so Mew very much presented himself as flat matte. And like, I think what's great about this show is that everybody can see themselves in some of the characters and in the scenarios. And like, you put your own trauma on that and you put your own lived experiences in that. And like, as somebody that like, I did have a big group of friends, and like, there were people in the friend group who like did present as though like, well, I'm better than the rest of you because I'm like virginal, because I'm this, because I'm that. And like, I just would never like, this was not me, but I would never like judge someone for doing drugs. I would never judge someone for smoking, for drinking, for hooking up. Like, I was never the like virginal one. Like, I hooked up, whatever. Like, I was in college and I partied and I like had a great time in college. But like, I think that like, I had my own experiences with people like that who very much like, it can make it feel like they're trying to make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, I think like your point of view was a little like how you took Mew's character versus like how I definitely know you took Mew's character is a little different, because with his friends I don't feel like he judged them, because like he was always there when Ray was drunk. He was always there when like Boston was just partying it up. I think when you saw that part of Mew was when he started dating Top. And the thing was, I get where Mew's coming from, because if I don't care what my friends do, I'm going to support them, I'm going to love them, I'm not going to judge them for something. But if I'm going to be with someone, I want them to be the best version of themselves, or like something that I would want to be proud of being with. And I think he didn't want his significant other to just like constantly do like the hard drugs or constantly like that.
Oh, that's how I'm talking about, like with his friends, not with Top.
I don't think he judged his friends though.
But like,
I thought he was there for his friends. If anything, he was too supportive, because it took San to come in and save Ray from this alcohol problem. Versus
I
Mew
think
should
Ray
have done
just needed a little
like
bit more
intervention.
of like a hard line.
Like his
motivation.
Mew is pretty soft, but like
Yeah.
I guess my problem with Mew is that like in my experience with people that had similar traits, it turned out, hey, surprise, surprise, they're not perfect because nobody on this earth is perfect. And guess what? They're not better than anyone else. And they're not right. And it turns out they had their own issues too. And they had all these hues to them. And so like, but that's real life, right? Like nobody is perfect. People have hues. And so it kind of like characters, like at least the way Mew's presented in the first few episodes, are frustrating for me as not just like goody two shoes, but like anyone that's just flat, right? Like evil, right? Like if you're just evil and there's no shade to that, right? Like that's boring to me too, because that's not real life. Everybody has hues to them. And so like this presentation of a person that was just flat, like I was like, that's unengaging for me as a viewer to watch.
I have a question for both of you. I feel like all the other characters' issues were obvious. What would you say Mew's issue was?
So I do think, so here's the thing is I think that Mew, that's why I say I don't think he changed as a person. I think all of a sudden his hues, the other pieces of him, like that sassiness and that, because like when he turned into like whatever, like, you know,
Taylor Swift redemption.
Redemption, right? Like when he turned into like,
or Rebel. What was it? It's not redemption because there was no redemption.
Yeah, there was no redemption for him.
It was just like
when he turned into his like low evil self. When he had his like baddie era. He did it in a way that was very Mew, right? Like he wasn't out hooking up with a bunch of people. No. He was like sassy and he was still going to bookstores, right? Remember he even goes with Ray, like he still kept those core like things. It was just that like his little like funny sassiness was coming out and his like you know, like his hues came out.
I mean, even he himself in that bookstore is like, I'm bored. I'm boring. This is
boring. But you guys,
that's why I would say, like, I don't think he ever changed as a person. I think he became more rounded, or he started letting more people see who he was.
I don't know if I would agree to like that's who he was, because when he got over that, he reverted back to his old self.
But he didn't revert. He's still sassy. If you watch like all the way up to like his exchanges with Boston.
Oh, I think he's less of a pushover for sure. Yeah. By the end, he's less of a pushover. I feel like he stood his ground with Top. He stood his ground with Boston. He stood his ground with everyone. He was like, no, or like he was more.
Even in at 12 when he and Top are talking about moving in together, and he's like, you need to clean up after yourself because you're going to drive me up the fucking wall if you just like leave stuff out, right? Like that's true.
I don't think first two episodes Mew would have done that. Yeah, exactly. No, I see what you're saying.
So, but that was always in him. That was always like he said. That's just how he is as a person. So the fact that he started letting people see it, that's when it became interesting to me. It was the flatness of it for the first few episodes. But like,
I think that's the role he had to play in that group of friends. Like up until that point, he never had anyone who challenged him because like he never really like needed to fight against Ray and Boston as like a person, right? Like he played his role. He was the table keeper. He sat at the table. He took care of whoever was drunk at the moment. And I think when Top came into the picture, he finally was like, oh, I want a seat at that table, but I want to be seen at that table.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is like, it was always in him. It was always a part of who he was. And that's what I like so much about Top and Mew, is that Mew needs Top to bring out those hues. Just like Top, here's the thing. Top's boring too. They are both boring. I would argue Top is so boring. He's literally just some hot dude that wears chinos and like draws on his iPad. Sorry, but like
I don't Top think that's boring. I think that's very fun.
But like,
I see what you're saying.
Would you sit there with him in his apartment with his little chinos and Wayfarers all day long?
I don't think I could legally say what I want to say.
Robbie would wear a triple margarita order, right?
I would lose brain cells for Top.
I would lose. I wouldn't.
It's stupid. I'm saying you'd be bored.
No, I wouldn't. I would have so much fun. I would make it. The clothes would be off all the time.
No, because that's not what Top does. It's not about the clothes.
But that's what Robbie does. Robbie would make it fun.
That's what I'm saying. So you would be bored.
Yeah, but
as an individual, he's boring. If you were to watch, not to be with him, right? Not to be in the room with him, but like a TV show about Top, just Top, sitting in his apartment, wearing his, like, rich boy, sitting in his fancy apartment with nothing out of place, just, like, designing.
I love watching him take showers. I'm just kidding.
I will say, like,
you'd be bored.
I get what you're saying.
But Top's not just that. That's the thing, is Top's not just that.
Like, they bring out the goodness in each other. But I will have to defend Mew. I think it was also his upbringing. Like later we heard his story with like his 2 moms, and like his moms were always like, be kind, like always be
That's
kind.
what I'm saying is
so I feel like it was more of like
but
an
I don't think
upbringing.
Mew needs defending from me. I'm not attacking Mew. Like people hear me say he was flat the first 2 episodes and they take it as an attack. I'm not attacking him. I'm saying as a viewer it was unengaging.
I think because like we're close and I've been talking to you since the story started. Definitely you attacked Mew in the beginning. Would you agree that? You said he was boring and you did not like him.
But that's not
you didn't attack him. You just didn't like him.
Well, it was like the same thing when I didn't like Boston. I felt like you thought I was attacking Boston.
No.
Oh, then clarification was made. See? Friendship.
But that's the thing is that like, yeah, I think a character's boring and not like them and not.
It's not an attack on the character. It doesn't mean the character's poorly written. It doesn't mean the actor's doing a bad job.
That's true.
And I think that's the dynamic of like Beth Ann and I constantly have different opinions about things. And also I grew up in a crazy house full of siblings. I have 3 siblings.
I'm gonna let her talk about her favorite.
we constantly like had different opinions about things. And so like that's the thing is you guys, it's a TV show. These are characters. Just because you somebody likes something more than you like the thing doesn't mean they're attacking you.
And you know,
it's not a personal thing. Like my favorite character in the show is Sand. If you tell me Sand is not your favorite character, that Sand is flat, that Sand is boring because all he cares about is music, whatever, that's not a personal attack on me, and I don't take it. And I don't take it as an attack on Sand. Like,
I'm different. I take it as an attack. I would want a CT scan done of your head if you thought Sand was born and not perfect.
I would have fun chatting with you about it. I'd be like, "You're crazy."
Yeah,
I love
no,
him.
I think,
but like, it's not an attack.
Yeah, I don't think any of us like mean it as an attack. I think it's just just like me. To me, when I say attack, it's really just us going back and forth and making it funny. I don't like if we're attacking. It's very different. I don't think we could sit on the couch if we really thought we were attacking each other.
I think this show was a great step forward for like BL and GMMTV in general because we had this conversation with JoJo, and he was like, I didn't know if GMMTV was going to do this. I didn't know how this was going to work. And when he first got the green light and then he started casting people, he was like, I need to cast people who aren't already in ships because ships lend themselves to people defending people seeing more of an actor.
Things as a personal attack, right?
Rather than actors and not looking at the characters.
Rather than looking at the character, looking at the story and understanding you can have a feeling of, you can feel some sort of way about something and you're not.
And that's what I loved about this show is that so many people talked about the characters. Very few people talked about the actors.
Except Sweet Neo did say it was hard for him because people were like so upset. But the thing about Top, I guess that I didn't get to finish saying is that Top by himself could be quite boring. Just a hot dude that wears chinos and like draws floor plans. Love it. Love that for him. But like that's boring.
I will agree with Ayla 1,000%. I'm just
he's not boring. Here's the thing.
Top-matized.
He's not boring because he's so soft and sweet and he's actually really like ditzy, like klutzy kind of. He's got this like klutzy, ditzy, like he's almost like he fumbles for things a little bit.
His facial expressions are hilarious too.
It's cute and it's funny, but the way that gets brought out is Mew. He doesn't have that on his own, and so I think they both do that for each other, and that's what I like so much about them. And shout out to Book and Force for being able to play that because that is not an easy thing to portray, and it is not an easy thing to make people care about or love something that could be so boring and care about and love something that's so messy and complicated and like hot button. And they did it and they killed it and they showed, because if you go from that flatness, if you go from flat one tone to 500 hues, you're showing range. And they both did that. Like they killed this. So like that's why it's not an attack. What it is a compliment more than anything else.
There were so many moments where like Book would do something so subtle with Mew where like that moment that sticks out to me is in the laser tag space when they're having that conversation. And that's the moment where you realize like, oh, Mew is actually going to like overtake Top in this situation as the top tier. Because he's like, they're having this conversation, this back and forth, and Top is slowly realizing like, oh, I've always been in control of my relationships, but I think in this, like, we could level out and at some point Mew could be on top a little bit, where he's like, oh, I found your weakness.
It's me.
It's me.
That's why I say he didn't change as a person. He was always sassy. He always had that in him.
No, you're right. And you know what? You're it's funny now, like, awakening. I think, like, Mew's character with the friends was like subtle, but with Top, it brought his like personality out, because like if I'm like reliving everything, he was always a little more sassy.
Yeah.
He was different with the friends versus how he was with Top. I see what you're saying.
He never had to.
That makes so much sense now.
He never had to take control in the friends because Ray and Boston like did the thing.
They were there
on
on
the
top.
show.
Exactly.
And so he never had to take
That
any
makes sense.
type of like platform or responsibility. And I think with Top, he was challenged to do so because he was suddenly confronted with somebody who he really loved and who he did want to have a place in his life.
Well, and also just somebody who naturally brought that out in him, because before the betrayal, it was already coming out, right? In the laser tag, it was already coming out. And so like, and we've talked about this before, sometimes you just have like natural chemistry with someone and it just clicks. Like that's just what happened. Like those two characters played off each other so well.
And I think Mew was also really smart with the sense where he knew kind of who Top was before like Top fully fell in love with him.
This man's mole is like a lot.
The mole.
This man being forced.
I think like smolder.
I feel like Mew definitely knew that Top was like a player. Like he was gonna get played if he didn't take the sassy control or like push this man and his beautiful mole.
This man.
So
honestly.
okay, we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
First of all, shout out to Yo. Jenny killed it.
Yes,
I love her sweet little side story with Plug.
Yes.
Shout out Boeing. Freaking Mod is a whole
snack. Oh my god.
Honestly, Boeing could ruin my life and my friendships.
Honestly,
and
everything.
This show had some great side characters.
They really did.
Who would you have liked to see make a cameo in this show?
I was gonna say Mix. But Mix showed up because remember we all talked about it? We low-key us three and of course like some others in a group chat, we really thought Mix was going to be Boeing's character, remember?
Yeah.
So when I was like kind of bummed when it wasn't Mix. Boeing was beautiful. I'm not mad at Boeing being in this. But when Mix popped up, we
I'm shook to the floor. I'm shook to the floor because I vividly remember, so this happens to us sometimes with interviews, where like we interviewed JoJo and Nunu and we interviewed them and I released it right before the next episode was coming out, and I dropped a clip of JoJo telling us about Boeing. He was like, actually Boeing's coming next episode, and he gave us hints.
Some hints,
and I was shook that it wasn't, and so I released that clip where JoJo says it's someone that's not a BL actor, and everybody interacted with it. It was crazy. It lit up Twitter, like, and even JoJo had to like come on Twitter and like clarify things. And Mix interacted with it. And I remember just being like, oh my god, this is real, this is real. And Mix replied and was like interacting with it, knowing the whole time.
He was
and I was
at
like,
the end, That's why we need a season 2.
And I just imagine Mix being like, this is outstanding.
Well, and
people are so...
And he tweeted after the finale and he was like, I didn't say I wasn't in the show, I just said I wasn't Boeing.
Yes. And I'm like...
GMMTV, give us season 2.
No, we need a season 2 so bad.
Okay, cameo I would have liked. For selfish reasons, I'm going to say Luke Ishikawa.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. I feel like I just need Luke to kiss a man.
Yeah.
And I understand this is a strange request. Like, and I understand
I don't think it's strange. I support your decision.
I, at this point, do not care what man Luke kisses.
It's true.
I need Luke to kiss a man so deeply that I might
fund your own BL.
Fund my own BL. I might like write to our alumni association. If you don't know the story, Luke and I actually went to the same college at the exact same time.
Yeah.
We overlapped by 2 years.
And be like, yo, there's this alumni.
And be like, did you know we have an alumni from GW
who's famous in Thailand?
He's famous in Thailand, and can I
never kissed a boy.
Can I please start a petition that he kiss a man? And then maybe if I like get it started in the like alumni space, like maybe he'll see it. Like I just like
that'd be fantastic.
I have no other connection than to request this, but like at this point, literally, I don't know. He could kiss. Who didn't get kissed enough in this show? I don't care. Nick.
I feel like Nick deserves. Oh my god, Nick and Luke. I would die.
Mark Pekin and Luke.
I mean, there is that clip of Neo and Luke being all like huggy.
No,
but no.
I want to see Boston.
Mark Pekin and Luke. Here's the thing.
Oh my god,
Mark is like kind of soft and squishy and like little and cute, and then Luke is like not.
Yeah, Luke
we would die. Oh my god, I'm gonna turn red.
Mark Ford is real, but also I'm like tweaking out. Like I need it.
Oh my god,
fantastic.
I'm hot now.
We need a season 2 of this show.
Yes.
We need, like, absolutely no question.
Here's my theory as to why this could happen.
Oh, yeah, I want to hear
Okay.
this.
This is a great like setup for a continual series.
Yeah. I want to hear your theories.
Okay, so number one, the fact that they introduced a new character at the very end as a post-credit scene, not a part of the ending, but as a post-credit teaser, where normally they would put a GMMTV trailer, because that's what always happens. They put a trailer for the next thing, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And whatever, don't talk to me about Last Twilight. Just go with me on this Delulu train.
Yeah.
Join me in Delululand. So, it's a post-credit scene. They've introduced a new character. They're also wrapping up the friends that are going to come back or potentially come back. They make it very clear who is involved in what might come back, aka Mew and Top, right? Because you have this like moment with Nyx and Mew.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Force and Book do not have a series for next year yet.
Neither do Cow Tongue and
Neither do Cow Tongue and First. Neither does JoJo. And when GMMTV 2024 got announced, JoJo was like, don't worry, something's coming soon.
I would die.
I would die too.
I would die. And if I go to the higher above, I better have cable or like Netflix or YouTube, and I better be able to watch season 2.
And all
because we are manifesting this at this point.
All I'm saying is that if I got a second season of a series that will not be named simply on the promise of a high five, this really deserves it.
It really does. I mean, this trended in the U.S., which is like really rare.
It's hard to trend in the U.S.
Moonlight Chicken, the trailer trended in the U.S., but like I rarely see shows trending in the U.S.
Yeah, not like there's a couple, but like this would trended like almost week to week.
Oh,
yeah,
it
was
kill it.
Amazing.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
We've come to the end of
We've come to the end.
I mean, clearly not the end. I will continue to rewatch the show.
I have so many thoughts and feelings. I want to hear all your thoughts and feelings. Because again, like we kind of got into, one of the most fun things about this show is everybody has such strong opinions. And like, it can be a discussion and it can be fun. And it's like, it's fun to talk about and escape your real life with like these boys. Like, this is a fun escape. Like, come on.
I want to go to a fan event and do a high touch.
Oh, me too.
Like, high five and then some pictures. Like,
GMMTV, bring the OnlyFriends would do great in America.
Oh, 1,000%.
They'd be fun.
Okay, you guys. This has been Let's Talk BL. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and keep up with all things Let's Talk BL at Let's Talk BL.